The Forgotten Books of Eden. We're going over chapters 61 through 70. And in these chapters, Satan tempts Adam and Eve over and over. Adam first work, and Satan keeps beating Adam during the times in which he prays. So, chapter 61, they begin to follow Satan. Then he took Adam and Eve by the hand and began to bring them out of the cave. But when they had come a little ways out of it, Elohim knew that Satan had overcome them and had brought them out before the 40 days were ended, to take them to some distant place and to destroy them. Then the word Yeshua of Ahiah, Elohim, again came and cursed Satan and drove him away from them. And Elohim Ahiah began to speak to Adam and Eve, saying to them, "What made you come out of the cave to this place?" Then Adam said to Elohim Ahiah, "Did you create a man before us? For when we were in the cave, there suddenly came to us a friendly old man who said to us, 'I am a messenger from Elohim Ahiah to you to bring you back to some place of rest.' And he believed, O Elohim Ahiah, that he was a messenger from you. And we came out with him and knew not where we should go with him." Then Yahuwah said to Adam, "See, that is the father of evil arts, who brought you and Eve out of the garden of delights. And now indeed, when he saw that you and Eve both joined together in fasting and praying, and that you came not out of the cave before the end of the 40 days, he wished to make your purpose vain, to break your mutual bond, to cut off all hope from you, and to drive you to some place where he might destroy you, because he couldn't do anything to you unless he showed himself in the likeness of you. Therefore he came to you with a face like your own, and began to give you tokens as if they were all true. But because I am merciful and favorable to you, I did not allow him to destroy you. Instead, I drove him away from you. Now therefore, O Adam, take Eve and return to your cave and remain in it until the morning and after the 40th day. And when you come out, go toward the eastern gate of the garden." Then Adam and Eve worshipped Elohim Ahiah and praised and blessed him for the deliverance that had come to them from him. And they returned toward the cave. This happened in the evening of the 39th day. Then Adam and Eve stood up and with a fiery passion prayed to Elohim Ahiah to give them strength, for they had become weak because of hunger and thirst and prayer. But they watched the whole of the night praying until morning. Then Adam said to Eve, "Get up. Let's go toward the eastern gate of the garden as Elohim Ahiah told us." And they said their prayers as they were accustomed to do every day, and they left the cave to go near to the eastern gate of the garden. Then Adam and Eve stood up and prayed and appealed to Elohim Ahiah to strengthen them and to send them something to satisfy their hunger. But after they finished their prayers and were too weak to move, then came the word Yeshua of Elohim Ahiah again and said to them, "O Adam, get up, go and bring the 2 figs here." Then Adam and Eve got up and went until they came near to the cave. Chapter 62, the 2 fruit trees. But Satan the wicked was envious because of the consolation of Elohim Ahiah had given them. So he prevented them and went into the cave and took the 2 figs and buried them outside the cave so that Adam and Eve should not find them. He also had in his thoughts to destroy them. But Elohim Ahiah mercy, as soon as those 2 figs were in the ground, Elohim Ahiah defeated Satan's counsel regarding them, and it made them into 2 fruit trees that overshadowed the cave, for Satan had buried them on the eastern side of it. Then when the 2 trees were grown and were covered with fruit, Satan grieved and mourned and said, "It would have been better to have left those figs where they were, for now, behold, they have become 2 fruit trees, whereof Adam will eat all the days of his life, whereas I had in mind when I had buried them to destroy them entirely and to hide them forever. But Elohim Ahiah has overturned my counsel, will not that this sacred fruit should perish, and he has made plain my intention and has defeated the counsel I had formed against his servants." Then Satan went away ashamed because he hadn't thought his plan all the way through. Chapter 63, the first joy of trees. But Adam and Eve, as they got closer to the cave, saw 2 fig trees covered with fruit and overshadowing the cave. Then Adam said to Eve, "It seems to me that we have gone the wrong way. When did these 2 trees grow here?" It seemed to me that the enemy wishes to lead us the wrong way. Do you suppose that there is another cave besides this one in the earth? Yet, O Eve, let us go into the cave and find it in the 2 figs, for this is our cave in which we were. But if we should not find the 2 figs in it, then it cannot be our cave. They went then into the cave and looked into the 4 corners of it, but found not the 2 figs. And Adam cried and said to Eve, Did we go to the wrong cave then, O Eve? It seems to me these 2 fig trees are the 2 figs that were in the cave. And he said, I, for my part, do not know. Then Adam stood up and prayed and said, O Elohim, you commanded us to come back to the cave to take the 2 figs, and then to return to you. But now we have not found them. O Elohim, have you taken them and sown these 2 trees, or have we gone astray in the earth, or has the enemy deceived us? If it be real, then, O Elohim, reveal to us the secret of these 2 trees of the 2 figs. Then came the word Yeshua of Elohim to Adam, and said to him, O Adam, when I sent you to fetch the figs, Satan went before you to the cave, to the figs, and buried them outside eastward of the cave, thinking to destroy them, and not sowing them with good intent. Not for his mere sake, then have these trees grown up at once, but I had mercy on you, and I commanded them to grow, and they grew to be 2 large trees, that you be overshadowed by their branches and find rest, and that I made you see my power and my marvelous works, and also to show you Satan's meanness and his evil works forever since you came out of the garden. He has not ceased not one day from doing you some harm, but I have not given him power over you. And Elohim said, From now on, Adam, O Adam, rejoice on account of the 2 trees, you and Eve, and rest under them when you feel weary, but do not eat any of their fruit or come near them. And then Adam cried and said, O Elohim, will you again kill us, or will you drive us away from before your face and cut our life from off the face of the earth? O Elohim, I beg you, if you know that there be in these trees either that or some other evil, as at the first time, root them up from near our cave, and with them, and leave us to die of the heat or hunger and of thirst. For we know your marvelous works, O Elohim, that they are great, and that by your power you can bring one thing out of another without one wish. For your power can make rocks to become trees, and trees to become rocks. Chapter 64. Adam and Eve partake of the first earthly food. Then Elohim looked at Adam and his strength of mind and his endurance of hunger and thirst and of the heat, and he changed the 2 fig trees into 2 figs, as they were at first, and then said to Adam and to Eve, Each of you may take 1 fig. And they took them as Yahuwah commanded them. And he said to them, You must now go into the cave and eat the figs and satisfy your hunger, or else you will die. So as Elohim commanded them, they went into the cave about sunset, and Adam and Eve stood up and prayed during the setting of the sun. Then they sat down to eat the figs, but they knew not how to eat them, for they were not accustomed to eat earthly food. They were afraid that if they ate, their stomach would be burdened, their flesh thickened, and their hearts would take a liking earthly food. But while they were thus seated, Elohim, out of pity for them, sent them his angel, so they wouldn't perish of hunger and thirst. And the angel said to Adam and Eve, Ahia says to you that you do not have the strength that would be required to fast until death. Eat therefore, and strengthen your bodies, for you are now animal flesh, and cannot subsist without food and drink. Then Adam and Eve took the 2 figs and began to eat of them, but Elohim had put into them a mixture as a savory bread and blood. Then the angel went from Adam and Eve, who ate of the figs, until they had satisfied their hunger. Then they put aside what was left, but by the power of Elohim, the 2 figs became whole again, because of Elohim blessed them. After this, Adam and Eve got up and prayed with a joyful heart, and renewed strength and praise, and rejoiced abundantly the whole of that night. And this was the end of the 83rd day. Chapter 65. And Adam and Eve acquired digestive organisms. Final hope of returning to the garden is lost. And when it was day, they got up and prayed after their custom, and then went out of the cave. But they became sick from the food they had eaten, because they were not used to it. So they went about in the cave, saying to each other, saying to, this become funny to me, guys. Please forgive me. Saying to each other, what has our eating cost? Excuse me, guys. What has our eating caused to happen to us, that we should be in such pain? I'm sorry, guys. This gets funny to me. We are in misery. We shall die. It would have been better for us to I'm sorry, to have died keeping our bodies pure, than to have eaten and defiled them with food. Now, guys, you know how it is when you eat food and your stomach says no. So my mind is taking me back to when they first ate food, to how their stomach may have felt, and I'm picturing in my mind the way their faces probably were looking. So I kind of put my mind back in the days when I'm reading stories like this to you guys. So I'm in verse 4, and let's continue on. And please forgive me of my outburst. Then Adam said to Eve, this pain did not come to us in the garden, neither did we eat such bad food there. Do you think, O Eve, that Elohim would plague us through the food that is in us, or that our inward will come out? Of that Elohim means to kill us with the pain before he had fulfilled his promise to us? Then Adam besought Yahuwah and said, O Ahiah, let us not perish through the food we have eaten. O Ahiah, don't punish us, but deal with us according to your great mercy, and forsake us not until the day of the promise you have made us. Then Elohim looked at them, and then fitted them for eating food at once, as to this day, so that they should not perish. Then Adam and Eve came back into the cave, sorrowful and crying because of the alteration of their bodies. And they both knew from that hour that they were altered beings, that all hope of returning to the garden was now lost, and that they could not enter it. For that now their bodies and strange functions in all flesh that requires food and drink for its existence cannot be in the garden. Then Adam said to Eve, behold, our hope is now lost, and so is our trust to enter the garden. We no longer belong to the inhabitants of the garden, but from now on we are earthly, and of the dust, and of the inhabitants of the earth. We shall not return to the garden until the day in which Elohim has promised to save us and to bring us again into the garden as he promised us. Then they prayed to Elohim that he would have mercy on them, after which their mind was quieted, their hearts were broken, and their longing was cooled down, and they were like strangers on earth. That night Adam and Eve spent in the cave, where they slept heavily by reason of the food they had eaten. Chapter 66. Adam does his first day's work. When it was morning, the day after they had eaten food, Adam and Eve prayed in the cave, and Adam said to Eve, look, we asked for food of Elohim, and he gave it. But now let us also ask him to give us a drink of water. Then they got up and went to the bank of the stream of water that was on the south border of the garden, in which they had before thrown themselves. And they stood on the bank and prayed to Elohim that he would command them to drink of the water. Then the word Yeshua of Elohim came to Adam and said to him, O Adam, your body has become brutish and requires water to drink. Take some and drink it. You and Eve then give thanks and praise. Adam and Eve then went down to the stream and drank from it until their bodies felt refreshed. After having drunk, they praised Elohim and then returned to their cave after their former custom. This happened at the end of the 83rd day, or after 83 days. Then on the 84th day, they took the 2 figs and hung them in the cave together with the leaves thereof, to be to them a sign and a blessing from Elohim. And they placed them there so that if their descendants came there, they would see the wonderful things Elohim had done for them. Then Adam and Eve again stood outside the cave and asked El Elohim to show them some food with which they could nourish their bodies. Then the word Yeshaya of El Elohim came and said to him, O Adam, go down to the western of the cave until you come to a land of dark soil, and there you shall find food. And Adam obeyed the word Yeshaya of El Elohim, took Eve and went down to a land of dark soil, and found there wheat growing in the ear and ripe, and figs to eat, and Adam rejoiced over it. Then the word Yeshaya of El Elohim came again to Adam and said to him, take some of this wheat and make yourself some bread with it to nourish your bodies therewith. And El Elohim gave Adam's heart wisdom to work out the corn until it became bread. Adam accomplished all that he grew very faint and weary. He then returned to the cave, rejoicing at what he had learned of what is done with wheat until it is made into bread for one's use. Chapter 67. Then Satan began to lead astray Adam and Eve. When Adam and Eve went down to the land of black mud and came near to the wheat El Elohim had showed them, and saw that it was ripe and ready for reaping, they did not have a sickle to reap it with, so they readied themselves and began to pull up the wheat by hand until it was all done. They then heaped it into a pile, and faint from heat and from thirst, they went under a shady tree where the breeze fanned them to sleep. But Satan saw what Adam and Eve had done, and he called his host and said to them, since El Elohim had shown to Adam and Eve all about this wheat wherewith to strengthen their bodies, and look, they have come and made a big pile of it, and faint from the toil, and now asleep, come, let us set fire to this heap of corn, and burn it, and let us take the bottle of water that is by them, and empty it out, so that they may find nothing to drink, and we kill them with hunger and thirst. Then when they wake up from their sleep, and seek to return to the cave, we will come to them in the way, and will lead them astray, so that they die of hunger and thirst, when they may perhaps deny El Elohim, and he destroy them. So shall we be rid of them. Then Satan and his host set the wheat on fire and burned it up. But from the heat of the flame Adam and Eve awoke from their sleep, and saw the wheat burning, and the bucket of water by them poured out. Then they cried and went back to the cave, but as they were going up from below the mountain where they were, Satan and his host met them in the form of angels, praising El Elohim. Then Satan said to Adam, O Adam, why are you so pained with hunger and thirst? It seems to me that Satan has burnt up the wheat. And Adam said to him, Yes. Again Satan said to Adam, Come back with us. We are angels of El Elohim. El Elohim sent us to you, so to show you another field of corn better than that, and beyond it is a fount of good water, and many trees where you shall live near it, and work the cornfield to better purpose than that which Satan has consumed. Adam thought that he was true, and that they were angels who talked with him, and he went back with them. Then Satan began to lead astray Adam and Eve 8 days, until they both fell down as if dead from hunger, thirst, and faintness. Then he fled with his host and left them. Chapter 68. How destruction and trouble is of Satan when he is the master. Adam and Eve established the custom of worship. Verse 1. Then El Elohim looked at Adam and Eve, and at what had come over them from Satan, and how he had made them perish. El Elohim therefore sent his word Yeshaya, and raised up Adam and Eve from their state of death. Then Adam, when he was raised, said, O El Elohim, you have burnt and taken from us the corn you have given us, and you have emptied out the bucket of water, and you have sent your angels who have caused us to lose our way from the cornfield. Will you make us perish? If this be from you, El Elohim, then take away our souls, but punish us not. Then El Elohim said to Adam, I did not burn down the wheat, and I did not pour the water out of the bucket, and I did not send my angels to lead you astray. But it is Satan, your master, who did it, he to whom you have subjected yourselves by commandment being meanwhile set aside. He it is who burnt down the corn and poured out the water, and who had led you astray, and all the promises he has made you were just a trick, a deception, and a lie. But now, O Adam, you shall acknowledge my good deeds done to you. And Elohim told his angels to take Adam and Eve and to bear them up to the field of wheat which they found as before, which the bucket full of water. There they saw a tree and found on it solid manna, and wondered at Elohim's power. And the angels commanded them to eat of the manna when they were hungry. And Elohim admonished Satan with a curse not to come again and destroy the field of corn. Then Adam and Eve took of the corn and made of it an offering, and took it and offered it up to the mountain, the place where they had offered up their first offering of blood. And they offered this offering again on the altar that had built at first. And they stood up and prayed and besought Elohim, saying, Thus, O Elohim, when we were in the garden, our praises went up to you like this offering, and our innocence went up to you like incense. But now, O Elohim, accept this offering from us, and don't turn us away deprived of your mercy. Then Elohim said to Adam and Eve, Since you have made this offering and have offered it to me, I shall make it my flesh when I come down on earth to save you, and I shall cause it to be offered continually on an altar for forgiveness and for mercy for those who partake of it duly. And Elohim sent a bright fire over the offering of Adam and Eve, and filled it with brightness, grace, and light, and the Holy Ghost, the Ruach Kadesh, came down on that offering. Then Elohim commanded an angel to take fire tongues like a spoon, and with it to take an offering and bring it to Adam and Eve. And the angel did so, and as Elohim had commanded him, and offered it to them. And the souls of Adam and Eve were brightened, and their hearts were filled with joy and gladness, and with the praises of Elohim. And Elohim said to Adam, This shall be to you a custom to do so when affliction and sorrow come over you. But your deliverance and your entrance into the garden shall not be until the days are fulfilled, as agreed between you and me. Were it not so, I would, of my mercy and pity for you, bring you back to my garden and to my favor for the sake of the offering you have just made to my name. Adam rejoiced at these words which he heard from Elohim, and he and Eve worshipped before the altar to which they bowed, and then went back to the cave of treasures. And this took place at the end of the 12th day after the 80th day from the time Adam and Eve came out of the garden. And they stood up the whole night praying until morning, and then went out of the cave. Then Adam said to Eve with joy of heart, because of the offering they had made to Elohim, and that had been accepted of him, let us do this 3 times every week on the 4th day, Wednesday. Fourth day, they got Wednesday in here. But on the 4th day, Wednesday, on the preparation day, Friday, on the Sabbath, Sunday, all the days of our life. We're going to investigate those days, because back in the day, Wednesday, Sunday, all those days weren't created. Wednesday would have been considered the 3rd day, and the Sabbath, the 7th day, and the preparation day, the 6th day. So we're going to investigate those words in this. So verse 21, and as they agreed to these words between themselves, Elohim was pleased with their thoughts and with the resolution they had each taken with the other. And this came the word Yeshaya of Elohim to Adam, and said, O Adam, you have determined beforehand the days in which suffering shall come over me, when I am made flesh, for they are the 4th Wednesday and the preparation day, Friday. Again, we're going to investigate the days. But as to the first day, I created it in all things, and I raised the heavens, and again, through my rising again on this day will I create joy and raise them on high, who believe in me. O Adam, offer this offering all the days of your life. Then Elohim withdrew his word Yeshaya from Adam. But Adam continued to offer this offering thus every week 3 times until the end of the 7 weeks. And on the first day, which is the 15th or the 50th, Adam made an offering as he was accustomed, and he and Eve took it and came to the altar before Elohim as he had sought them. Chapter 69, 12th apparition of Satan to Adam and Eve while Adam was praying over the offering on the altar when Satan beat him. Then Satan, the hater of all good, envious of Adam and of his offering, through which he found favor with Elohim, hastened and took a sharp stone from among the sharp iron stones, appeared in the form of a man, and went and stood by Adam and Eve. Adam was then offering on the altar, and had begun to pray with his hands spread before Elohim. Then Satan hastened with the sharp iron stone he had with him, and with it pierced Adam on the right side, from which flowed blood and water. Then Adam fell on the altar like a corpse, and Satan fled. Then Eve came and took Adam and placed him below the altar, and there she stayed, crying over him, while a stream of blood flowed from Adam's side over his offering. But Elohim looked at the death of Adam. He then sent his word Yeshua and raised him up and said to him, Fulfill your offering, for indeed, Adam, it is worth much, and there is no shortcoming in it. Elohim said further to Adam, Thus will it also happen to me on the earth, when I shall be pierced, and blood and water shall flow from my side and run over my body, which is the true offering, and which shall be offered on the altar as a perfect offering. Then Elohim commanded Adam to finish his offering, and when he had ended it, he worshipped before Elohim and praised him for the signs he had shown him. And Elohim healed Adam in one day, which is the end of the 7 weeks, and that is the 50th day. Then Adam and Eve returned from the mountain and went into the cave of treasures, and as they were used to. This completed for Adam and Eve 140 days since their coming out of the garden. Then they both stood up that night and prayed to Elohim. And when it was morning, they went out and went down westward of the cave to the place where their corn was, and there rested under the shadow of the tree, as they were accustomed. But when there a multitude of beasts came all around them, it was Satan's doing in the wickedness, in order to wage war against Adam through marriage. Chapter 70. 13th apparition of Satan to trick Adam into marrying Eve. After this, Satan, the hater of all good, took the form of an angel, and with his 2 others, so that they looked like the 3 angels who had brought to Adam gold, incense, and myrrh. They passed before Adam and Eve while they were under the tree, and greeted Adam and Eve with fair words that were full of deceit. But when Adam and Eve saw their pleasant expressions and heard their sweet speech, Adam rose, welcomed them, and brought them to Eve, and they remained all together. Adam's heart the while being glad, because he thought concerning them that they were the same angels who had brought him gold, incense, and myrrh, because when they came to Adam the first time, there came over him from them peace and joy through their bringing with him good tokens. So Adam thought that they had come a second time to give him other tokens from him to rejoice therewith. For he did not know it was Satan. Therefore he received them with joy and consorted with them. Then Satan, the tallest of them, said, Rejoice, O Adam, and be glad. Look, Elohim has sent us to you to tell you something. And Adam said, What is it? Then Satan answered, It is a simple thing, yet it is the word Yeshua of Elohim. Will you accept it from us and do it? But if you will not accept it, will you return to Elohim and tell him that you would not receive his word Yeshua? And Satan said again to Adam, Don't be afraid and don't tremble. Don't you know us? But Adam said, I don't know you. Then Satan said to him, I am the angel that brought you gold and took it to the cave. This other angel is the one that brought you incense, and the third angel is the one that brought you myrrh when you were on top of the mountain, and who carried you to the cave. But as to the other angels, our fellows who bore you to the cave, Elohim has not sent them with us this time, for he said to us, You will be enough. So when Adam heard these words, he believed them, and said to these angels, Speak the word of your Elohim that I may receive it. And Satan said to him, Swear and promise me that you will receive it. Then Adam said, I do not know how to swear and promise. And Satan said to him, hold out your hand and put it inside my hand. Then Adam held out his hand and put it inside of Satan's hand. And when Satan said to him, say now, say true as Elohim is living, rational and speaking, who raised the stars in the heaven and established the dry ground on the waters, and has created me out of the four elements and out of the dust of the earth. I will not break my promise nor renounce my word. And Adam swore thus. Then Satan said to him, look, it is now some time since you came out of the garden, and you know neither wickedness nor evil. But now Elohim says to you to take Eve, who came out of your side, and to marry her, so that she will bear you children, to comfort you and to drive from you trouble and sorrow. Now this thing is not difficult, neither is there any scandal in it to you. So we see now that Satan was introducing Adam and Eve into sex and bearing children. So we're going to stop at that for today, guys, and we will continue with 71 through 80 tomorrow. We thank and praise El Elohim, the Most High Yah, our Creator of heavens and the earth, and we thank Him for His word, Yeshua, Yahuwah in the flesh, that came down here with us. And now He's rejoining us, marrying us back to Him, and He's taking us back to the Garden of Eden. So we thank Him, we bless Him. Hallelujah. That means praise you, Yah. Amen.